For this young man today, we're going to cut his hair, we're going to style it into a modified pompadour. He has a very strong side part and very thick hair. So what we're going to do is, I like the length on top because we want to have some lift in the front. But in order to get that, what we have to do is take away a lot of the thickness. So I'm going to use a scissor over comb technique on top with thinning shears just to take some of the weight out but leave the length. And as I spin him around and show you, what we're going to do is a clipper over comb technique. So we're going to taper him from closer to longer. Instead of taking attachments on and off, we're going to be able to control the length a lot better from shorter to longer and more efficiently with our clipper over comb technique. And as I spin him around to the back here, he has a very nice hairline. We're going to taper that and fade that right out. But what we do have here is a difficult swirl or pivot area to work with. So what we're going to do is, I want to leave it a little bit longer, take some of the thickness out. So when we style it, what we're going to have to do is kind of comb it forward and to the side. But if I cut it shorter, it's just going to stick up more. So what we have to do with pivots or crowns like this is actually work with them and style them in the direction that they grow. And then as I keep spinning him around, he has a little bit of a scar in the part area. So I don't want to cut it too close in the part area. We're going to cover that up as best we can. And then we're going to finish the taper around the other side. So to start out, what I want to do is, his hair has been freshly shampooed, but it's dried out a little bit. So what I want to do is wet it down first before we start. So I'm just going to take my water bottle and I'm going to mist him down a little bit. Now, I don't like to have the hair dripping wet when I'm cutting it, because then you can't tell what the hair is going to do. So I like to have it a little more than slightly damp. I'm just going to come straight across against the grain. The slower I move the comb, the more thickness I take out. The faster I move the comb, the less thickness I take out. So you have to use your judgment based on how thick the hair is. So in this case, since his hair is extremely thick, you notice I'm moving the comb very slow. So it's not always about just taking length. Texturizing and thinning hair out plays a very important part in the finished product. For the clipper over comb portion of the haircut, I've chosen a powerful rotary motor driven clipper. The reason why I like the rotary motor clippers is they're extremely powerful. It's the most powerful of the three types of motors versus a magnetic and a pivot motor. I'm going to use a white clipper comb so we can see the contrast in the hair. And I'm going to use a 1.5 blade on my clipper. The reason why I like the 1.5 blade is because it cuts and blends at the same time, and it's a lot more forgiving, and we don't wind up with any clipper marks when we're doing our clipper over comb. So when I cut the hair, I leave the heel of the blade on the comb to remove bulk, and as I work my way up the side of the head, I gradually move the heel of the blade away from the comb to a 45-degree angle, so then I'm cutting and blending, and at the very end, to blend into the top, because what I don't want to do is, we can see our guide right here, and what I don't want to do is cut our guide. I want to cut to it but not into it. So by the time I get to the guide, I'm going to pull the heel of the blade all the way away from the comb, and then I'm just blending. So it's like point cutting with 18 scissors. So I'm going to bend the head to the side slightly. I'm going to use an underhand grip so my posture is, I'm standing straight up and down and I have the correct posture. If I were to use the overhand grip, you can see how high my elbow and my shoulder are in the air, and it's very uncomfortable. So as I work my way up towards my guide, I start to pull the heel of the blade away from the comb, and then we just blend that into the top. And since I have a 1.5 blade on here, which is longer, I can also start the taper or the semi-finish area while I'm working my way around. So that adds to our efficiency and cuts down on our haircut time. And when I say it cuts down on our haircut time, we're cutting faster actually by working slower, because we're doing every step once and then we're combining a few steps. So I'll show you what I mean. So once I get through these few panels, I'm going to take the 1.5 blade, I'm going to tilt it up, and I'm going to use a scooping motion, and then a 45-degree angle, and start to taper around the outline of the haircut.
Are you a member of HowToCutHair.tv? Learn the art of men's barbering from third-generation master barber Greg Zorian in full HD, 24/7 from anywhere in the world. Sign up for your free membership and learn how to increase your efficiency and make more money behind the chair. HowToCutHair.tv.
And then as I'm scooping that comb out, I'm rolling it away from his head. And it's basically I'm following the contour of his head shape and letting the shape of his head push the comb out. And then I'm going to keep that blade parallel to the floor, just like we did with the other one. Now I'm going to close it halfway. Now we're going to close it all the way. All right, now on the opposite side, we're going to do a little bit more clipper over comb. So I want a little closer towards the bottom. And you have a lot more control with clipper over comb than you do attachments, because you can angle the comb, rotate the comb. And again, I'm using a light colored comb so the dark hair shows up. I want to make sure I preserve these corners. So when I turn his head to the side, it gives me it flattens out that neck muscle and gives me more of an area to work on. It makes it easier, makes the hair stick out more, and makes it easier to taper it. So clipper is in the open position. If I see a heavy spot, I can take the clipper against the grain and take the corner of the clipper, and basically this is just like point cutting with a scissor. And it just takes a little bit of the weight out without cutting the corner off. Okay, so now my blade is back to parallel to the floor. It's halfway closed and then all the way closed. Okay, so now with our outliner, when we're doing the sideburns, we want to make sure his chin is parallel to the floor and the clipper blade is parallel to the floor. That way we get a nice even cut on the sideburn, and then we shave up to it. If we drag down, we're going to cause razor burn because the clipper blade is so close to the stationary blade. If you use any amount of pressure, what's going to happen is the cutting blade is going to come in contact with the skin. So if you want to get it nice and close, you just stretch the skin, and that's how we get a nice close shave. Make sure we grab a few of those long ones. Okay, so now we're coming around to the back, and I want to angle his head so we can see that outline right there. So we're going to very lightly touch it. It's a very sharp clipper. And then I always over-exaggerate right down to the neck, and then we're going to shave right into it. So now we get a nice close cut. And now when we get to the back, we're going to bend his neck down, and we're just going to shave up, and we're going to stop about a ½ inch below the taper. I don't want to cut into the taper because then I'm going to have to raise the whole hairline up. And we want to leave the hairline as low and natural as possible. Okay, and now on the opposite side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bend his head. We're going to very lightly touch his skin with the clipper. Again, these outliners are very sharp. You don't need to use a lot of pressure.
Introducing Zorian of New York, premium grooming products for the modern man, designed by third-generation master barber Greg Zorian. Made in the USA and not tested on animals, each of our styling products is infused with natural ingredients and features light, clean fragrances. Our 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner is sulfate and paraben-free and color-safe. Do you own a barbershop or salon, rent a chair, or run a school? Find out how we support our retailers with world-class barbering education and product knowledge training. We're currently accepting applications for wholesale accounts and invite you to apply on our website, Zorian of New York.
So to style the hair correctly, what we're going to do is this young man, he likes to have a lot of lift on top with his hair. So what we're going to do is we're going to dry his hair back with a vent brush and a blow dryer. And the heat from the dryer is going to lift the hair up. And then we're going to use our Zorian of New York pomade, which has a high hold and a high shine. And we're going to rub it all the way through the hair thoroughly. We're going to get it right down to the roots, and then we're actually going to use a pick to style the hair back and to stand it up and to lift it up. So we're going to start out with the drying portion first. Now the reason why I like to have the hair 100% dry is the product works much better when the hair is dry. It has more hold. It's 100% water soluble, so it rinses out really easy in about 30 seconds in the shower, even before you put the shampoo in. So if the hair is too damp when you put the product in, it loosens the hold and you wind up having to use more product. So what we're going to do is we're going to take an ample amount. Okay, we want to rub it thoroughly through our hands, emulsify it so you can barely see it. And then you want to get it right down to the roots. So with your hands, you want to style it in the direction that we are going to brush it or comb it. And since his hair grows in a circle around his head, I want to push it down on the side and push it slightly forward in the back. And if you'll notice, I'm doing this in the same direction that I dried it. I dried his hair in the circle that it grows around his head, and now I'm styling it in the same direction. So once we get that product all the way through, now I want to comb it through. So this is an important step. You want to get the product all the way through the hair. Now the reason why I'm using a pick is because he has very thick hair and the pick is very strong and the teeth are wide apart, and it gets the hair through there, so it doesn't pull the hair like a smaller fine-tooth comb. And it's also going to give it the look that you styled it with your fingers. So once we get it all combed through, then we're going to take the pick from the front and we're going to lift that front up. And while you're styling it, the product is still on your hands. So as you're following with your hand and pushing it down, you still have a little bit of that product in your hand. Okay. So now we're going to spin them around. You can see the final style.